Welcome. Today, what I'm going to talk about is I think I'm going to title this If I Was a Victim. And a reason why is because I'm thinking about people and they're always talking about, oh, woe is me and how their life is so hard. And I'm not saying that people don't have hard lives and people don't go through stuff, but it's all about what you choose. So I'm thinking about someone in particular. His name's Michael, and Michael was talking about we were having a real estate role playing call, and this is a call where we get together, we role play, and we talk about how we can buy houses, right? If we were dealing with a seller, like someone selling their house, we act like we're the buyer. We're trying to buy that house. The whole purpose of this call is to role play so you're better equipped when you deal with actual sellers, right? And this role play call has helped my confidence tremendously. So I really appreciate the call. And I'm making this video not only for Michael, but for some of the other people that want to claim victimhood and let victimhood have a claim over their life. So I want to call this, if I was a victim, here's what I would say. That's what I'm titling it. I don't know what it's going to become, but I'm going to tell my story. I'm going to tell the story about all of the things and all of the obstacles and all of the things that could stop me. I'm going to tell that story. And I have some bullet points here, which you might see on the screen, but I'm also going to go with what's in my mind as well. So before I go down my bullet points, I want to talk about this particular case. We were talking about the role-playing call, and Michael was talking about his mother, which I deeply sympathize, but life happens, right? So we have to handle life. And Michael was talking about his mother. He's like, my mother's sick, and I didn't bring up my mother because I wanted to dismiss Michael's what he's going through, but I just wanted to share an experience. Like my mother passed, and my mother passed. It's been have been 5 years. Coming soon in about a week. And I'm mentioning it not to mention it to be a victim or to get people emotional or to get people to feel sorry for me. I just want people to know that we're all going through stuff. And I was texting with a woman, her name, I'm not going to say her name. Let's call her E. And she's like, life be lifing. I'm like, yes, life is always lifing. It will never stop lifing. So life should not stop you from doing what you want to do and achieve in your life. I asked her when she was going to start investing and buying properties for herself. And she said, I don't know. Life be lifing. And she's been saying this for at least 3 years. She's been saying this since I've known her. And there are all kinds of excuses that people can come up with. I don't have any money. There's so many excuses, all the common excuses around real estate. The houses cost too much. I don't know where to find a property. Nobody's going to sell a property to me. We eclipse all of this stuff. We overcome all of this stuff just about every day, right? If you join our program, you work with us, we help you overcome that stuff. You don't need money to buy real estate. All you need to do is find the deals, and we teach you how to do that. So I was just thinking about her because I thought about her. And at the time I made her an offer. I was like, look, I'll run the leads. I'll get the leads in. You just have the conversations. And she did not follow through on that consistently. And I hate to say stuff like this, but her life she's going backwards. So I'm mentioning that to say, like, either you can be in control or you can let life be in control of you and circumstances be in control of you. And I'm pretty sure nobody likes that. People may accept it. They may tolerate and deal with it. I'm pretty positive nobody likes to be dominated by life. With that, I'm going to share reasons or points where I could have become a victim. And I'm just being transparent and I'm being open with people so people can know a little bit about me. I think people believe I'm some amazing person, which I think I am, right? But the things that I do, just about anybody can do if they have the right effort, the right attitude. Okay, so I wanted to share that. I always say there's nothing amazing about me, and I don't mean like literally because I am an amazing person, but I mean that everything that I can do, other people can do. You have access to, and you can tap into too. All right, so who is Jerome Lewis? Here are all of the reasons why and all of the points how I can be a victim. So you see that? That's my baby picture. This is what I look like. Handsome baby. All right, so I was born and raised in South Philadelphia. I was born in Philadelphia. I was born and raised. I kind of grew up different parts of the city. So I was first born, from what I remember, I was first born in South Philadelphia. And we grew up in the projects. There's a lot. There's a lot that can be said about the projects, about how black people were a social experiment. You put them in this box and they never get out, and blah, 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 all this stuff, right? So I could have been a victim there, but I wasn't. But I was born. So I was born and raised in South Philadelphia, raised kind of too, but I moved somewhere else. Grew up in the projects, right? That means I have no choice, right? Like, oh my God, I can't make it. I was born in the projects, right? No, not necessarily. And I decided not to take on that. Now, I have been through quite a bit that has maybe tried to hold me back, right? I've been in gangs. I've been in fights. I've been suspended from school, kicked out of school, expelled. I've been arrested, all kinds of stuff, right? But I choose not to let those things claim me. I was also, as young as I can remember, we were from South Philadelphia. We grew up there, and I was still with my mother. And I believe I was about, which I'll go into a little bit later, but they took us away from my mother. So when I say born and raised in South Philadelphia and then I hesitate, that's the reason why, because they took me away from my mother for a little bit. I believe it was either 4 or 5 years. And that might be all, but to me, it seemed like a lifetime. Being away from your mother that long, right? Somebody that you love, it was a lot. So I've been through a lot mentally and emotionally. As a baby, I was dropped on my head by my father, and my father was an alcoholic from what I remember. And what I experienced as an adult as well. I could claim, right, for a while, I had seizures. So seizures are like I would convulse, impulsive. I don't know what to call it, but I used to have seizures as a child, and I remember some of them. I remember one very vividly where I had a potty, right? Where kids go to a potty. I had this potty, and I was going to the potty. I was walking to the potty. And then I just remember in my head, it just started like shaking, and I had all this weird noise in my head. And from what I remember, next thing I just remember my mom yelling, "Oh my God, boy, you're having a seizure." And I don't remember anything beyond that. I can say that when I say I was dropped on my head as a child, I can say I remember, and you can remember things as a baby. I can say I remember my father when he was growing up. He was in a gang. He was in a street gang. And I remember me as a baby lying in grass near train tracks and my father being jumped, beaten by people. And my mother used to tell me the story about how my father got jumped, and I didn't know anything about this story and what she was saying until I was like older and I could start to talk and speak. But I remember that night, and from what I was told, my father, he got his neck broken because those other street gang members jumped him. So I just wanted to share that. Like I was dropped on my head as a child. I was dropped. I think they jumped me when my father had me, right? Hoodlums, right? That's real gangsters, right? You want to say whatever you want to call it. Like they jumped my father when he had his child with him. And I think I even remember seeing an ambulance, right? So they jumped my father when he had his child with him. And I was that child. Also, I'm not the first child. When my father was with my mother, he beat my mother and she had a miscarriage from another child. So I can claim that trauma. I can be a victim. It's a bunch of stuff I can say and do. Now, I grew up shy. I was afraid to talk. I was afraid to speak. I know a lot of people struggle with this. I am still introverted. I don't love talking with people. I get my energy by being by myself, and my energy deflates when I'm talking and interacting with people. It's not a negative thing, or it's just how it is. So I'm still an introvert. Some people don't believe me because I'm a public speaker. I make videos, I create content, but I am still an introvert. Am I shy? No, I'm no longer shy. So what I like to say now is I'm a bold introvert, because I am bold. I will speak up for myself. And I believe I got that from my mother. Speak the truth, speak for yourself. Okay. So I am still introverted, but I'm not shy. So don't confuse the two. Just because I'm an introvert doesn't mean I'm afraid to speak or speak up. I was like most people, right? Some people like to play victim. I was bullied in school, particularly elementary. I was bullied in school, and I was also abused as a child. And as much as I love my mother, I love her more than anyone, any woman, she abused me. And I can admit that. I can admit that. And I can say I appreciate the experiences my mother has given me. I'm not saying I appreciate being abused, but I appreciate the experiences she's given me. And I can say I learned a lot from those experiences. And we always want everything to be sunshine and rainbows, cupcakes and cookies, but that's not how life works. So by me being abused as a child, that helped me realize that I didn't want to do the same thing to my children. A lot of the times people will say, I didn't know any better. I didn't have a good example. And that is one of the sorriest excuses that you can use. And some people are probably listening like, man, this guy, listen, I'm just an honest and I'm a straightforward person. If you don't like honesty and a straightforwardness, you don't like bluntness, then you're not going to have a fun time working with me anyway. So I encourage you to go away. But I didn't have any good examples of a positive male role model, or how to raise a child. They say there's no book on parenting. There are some books out there, but people are giving their best guess. So my mother did what she thought was best. She was raised and she got abused, and that's what she learned. And that's what she transferred, and she did to us. Right. I love my mother more than anyone, but she did abuse us. I reported that abuse when I was growing up, and it was one of the biggest regrets. It was a big regret. I wish I had not reported that, because they took me away from my mother for years. And I say 4 to 5 years, maybe in 3 to 5 years. But to me, as a child that loved this woman more than anything, that felt like a lifetime. And because I was taken away from my mother, I wasn't allowed to see my mother. I was going through so much internally, and it made me very angry as a child. Very angry, upset, mentally distraught, lost, confused. Those things really hurt me as a child. So I was abused as a child, and I was bullied in elementary. So they took me away from my mother, and they put me in this. I got bullied when I was with my mother. I remember in kindergarten, it was this big guy. I can't remember his name, but it was a big dude, and he kept bullying me. And I told my mother, and guess what she did? She came to the rescue. She came up to school. She told the school, she said, "Don't be letting them mess with my son." And guess what? He stopped messing with me. But what did I learn from that? I learned that if I tell on someone, then my mom can come to the rescue. But what does that do for me? That makes me dependent of my mother and unable to defend and protect myself. So I got a short-term result by not being bullied. And I don't think that child ever bullied me again. That child never bullied me again. Then I got bullied again. And guess who I got bullied by this time? I was bullied by the lunch aide. The staff assistant abused me, bullied me the next time. And guess what I did? I told my mom came up to, don't you ever do that to my son again. So two instances where I was bullied and I called my mom to the rescue, and she did it. She said she rescued me. But because of that, I wasn't able to defend myself. So when they took me away from my mother and put me in foster care, guess what? I still kept getting bullied. And I remember they took us away in first grade. And I remember I was in first grade when they took me away. And I remember in about sixth grade, I went to, and this is where I say I grew up. I was in Gillespie Middle School. I can't remember the first name, but Gillespie is in Nicetown. It's in a Nicetown area. I went to that school, and I remember the beginning of the year, this guy named Lawrence, this bug-eye, ugly, I'm gonna say it, this ugly kid, he just kept picking on me. This guy Lawrence kept picking on me. Actually, let me go back. I remember in elementary, I was in Steele. It's called Steele, Edward T. Steele School. I went to that school, and there was this guy named Terrell that kept picking on me. And I wasn't able to defend myself. There was this other guy, I think his name was Pete, and he had a sister named Selena. And Pete kind of, for some reason, he was drawn to me. And he was like, listen, man, stop letting that guy pick on you. Like, run up on him and sock him. He said something like that. And guess what? I did exactly that. And I beat this guy, Terrell, so bad because he kept picking on me. I beat him up. He was so big. He was a big, fat bully. I beat him up. And he never messed with me again. And that's when I started to realize, like, man, I got something in me where I can actually defend myself. So people won't mess with me anymore. That guy never messed with me again because of that. And I appreciate that guy. So I couldn't fight yet. My advantage to that guy, Terrell, was that I snuck him. So he had messed with me or bullied me or something. And then I remember in the schoolyard, and I tapped him on the shoulder or something like it. It was corny. Tapped him on the shoulder, and I just start beating him up, bloodied his nose and everything. And the reason why I beat that guy is, one, because I had the preemptive, it was a preemptive encounter. I struck first. And number two, the reason why most people don't know why I would win most of my fights was because I was so angry. I was so angry that I figured out a way as a child to sometimes tap into that anger, to channel it and use it. I learned how to control and use my anger. It wasn't fully, right? I still didn't know how to use it fully, because you can use emotion, you can manipulate emotion. I still didn't fully understand how to use it. When it came to defending myself, I was able to tap into it sometimes. So I got in like several fights. I'm not going to stay there, but I got in a lot of fights in elementary, and I won pretty much all of those fights too. And it wasn't because I could fight. It was because I was angry. And there was a lot of strength, and there was a lot of passion and chaos in all of my emotions. And I would use that to whoop people's asses, basically. So I used to get bullied. And then we go to this guy, Lawrence, right? So I get to sixth grade. This guy, Lawrence, these bug eyes, I remember. He just started picking on, he was like, we were in class, and in school, you're busting on each other. Ha, ha, ha. Busting, he called me like Martin, because I had like my ear stuck out, and he was like big. And I'm looking at this dude like, you ugly though. You don't be messing with me. You look funny. And now that I'm an adult, I realized that he had issues with himself. That's why he was picking on me, but whatever. So that guy challenged me to a fight. He challenged me to a fight. At Gillespie, there was Gillespie. I'm standing looking for it. Gillespie was on the right, and Gratz, which was the high school, was on the left. There were two schools together, and inside of those two schools was an alleyway. And I would say, meet me after school. I would tell people that I couldn't even fight, but I was so angry and so passionate and so confident, and I don't even know what I was confident in, that I would meet me after school. and that's where we would go fight in that alleyway in between the schools. And I haven't lost. I didn't lose one fight. And eventually, I learned how to fight, but it wasn't because I could fight. It was because I was angry and passionate, and I just had anger inside of me. And I would beat these people's asses for messing with me because I was angry. Don't mess with me. I wanted to see my mom. I was lost. I was confused. Like, leave me alone. As a child, y'all all got your mothers, your moms, and we got a foster parent. And this shit is annoying. It's frustrating, and just don't mess with me. So that was my elementary. That was my elementary stint, and that was me being abused as a child. Like, I had all that passion and all that anger built up in me. So next thing I can claim as a victim is I can claim I'm a product of a single mother. I didn't have a father. Oh, I never knew how to be a man. And I'm not saying I'm a perfect man right now, but my mother raised me. And I told you a little bit of her story about how she would come to my rescue. And while I appreciated that, it did not help me as a boy, as a man, as an independent person to defend myself. Because guess what I got to do? I got to call my mom. Oh, somebody messing with me. Mommy. Mommy come right to the rescue. Guess what? I can't defend myself. There's nothing I can do. What happens when mommy's not around? What happened when mommy's not around? It's nothing I can do. So I'm a product of a single mother and an absent father. When my mother was raising me, my mother was a tomboy, but she still made me into a feminine boy in a way. She still made me into a feminine boy. So people hate to hear this, but in many cases, women can't raise men. They can't raise boys. Boys need masculine input and masculine influence. I'll give an example. My son, Jason, he was going through something very similar to what I was going through, getting bullied and being picked on in school. And the counselor and all the feminine teachers and feminine staff, oh, it's okay. Just tell them not to mess with you. No, that's not how you handle that, right? You don't tell the teacher, because I'm tired of this child messing with you. My son's name is Jason. Tired of this child messing with you, Jason. Tell him to stop fucking with you. Tell him to leave you alone. And if they mess with you, tell them you're going to whoop their ass. You're going to hit them back. And guess what happened? Nobody ever messed with him again. Ever again. So the entire time, this therapist and his mom, they were like, oh, no, it's okay. Tell the teacher this, all this other stuff. No, get to the point. Tell that person to leave you alone. And that's it. And the person left him alone. And I never had to worry about him being bullied ever again. Ever again. Simply because he stood up for himself. He didn't have to beat nobody up or nothing like that. He stood up for himself. And that's one thing about bullies. They only mess with people who allow them to mess with them. You don't even have to fight. You just need to stand up for yourself and say, no, not with me, not today. Because bullies are smart. They pick their victims and they pick on people that they know they can pick on. But once that person gives them a little pushback and they know that it's not going to be an easy fight here, they back down. And in many cases, they stop, period. So back to my point, I'm the product of a single mother and an absent father. I didn't have a father when I was growing up. All I had was my mother, and I loved that woman more than anything, right? So I grew up with my mother, and eventually after that period of being in foster care, I went back to my mother. And I was still angry. I still had this anger inside of me and this resentment and all this stuff going on. And I didn't know what it was. I would go out, and then I started getting affiliated with gangs and doing stuff that I wasn't supposed to do. Eventually, when I came out the end of all of that stuff, I realized that I just had this masculine energy or this absence. And I was like, you know what? I was angry at my father this entire time. That entire time, I didn't have a father. I was just angry because it was an absence. And I know some people's fathers are not there by circumstances they can't control, but my father was alive. So I just felt maybe abandoned. Maybe I felt abandoned or something like that. And eventually, one time, and I used to travel back to school back and forth on the train. Eventually, I saw my father, and I just remember seeing him. And despite everything that my mom said or everything that he went through with my mom, I was like, damn, I still love that man. That's still my dad. And I wanted to go reach out and build a relationship. And my mom, while my father wasn't, she didn't do anything to proactively have me involved with my father, which I understand because my father was abusive and he was an alcoholic. But once I became an adult and old enough, I was like, man, I would like to have a relationship with him. I know that's my father. We don't have to like see each other every day or nothing like that, but I love him. That's my dad. So, um, yeah, that was me being a product of a single mother and an absent father. Now, I said, um, I can't remember how long ago, but I started to build a relationship with my dad, and we didn't have like a tight relationship, but I knew it was my dad, and I would go visit him when I could. And then one day I got a phone call from my aunt, and she was crying. I already knew my aunt Felicia. My dad passed suddenly, and I felt it. Like I felt it internally, and I started crying. I was at work. I remember I got the call, I started crying, and it was just sad to hear my father pass. So, um, yeah, I wanted to share that. So I went off track a little bit. When I was taken from my mother, it says about 7 years old. That was like first grade. When I was put through foster care, they legitimately diagnosed me with ADHD. They try to say it was something wrong with me, and maybe it was, but it wasn't that I couldn't pay attention. I don't believe in this ADHD stuff. It's nonsense. People pay attention to the things that they care about. Like ADHD is like supposedly is now on the spectrum, and it's just nonsense. I never claimed it. Right? They put me on Ritalin and Benadryl. They put me on all this medication to cure my ADHD, and I just never accepted it. I used to even take the medicine and I used to put it under my tongue, and I used to throw it in the trash and stick it under the rug in my foster mom's house. I just never wanted the medication because it was embarrassing to be on this medication. It's like, what's wrong? It's nothing wrong with me. What the? I need to take some medication for because y'all saying I'm hyper. Like I was a kid. I wish somebody would tell me my kids are ADHD now. My daughter, she comes in my office here, jumps and flips. My son, the same thing. They can't sit down worth a damn. They're just being kids, though. Just being kids. And it has nothing to do with ADD or ADHD. I don't really believe in that nonsense. And I'm working, I'm doing my best so I can go and find the paperwork. I'm not doing my best, but I would love to get that paperwork because a lot of people like to claim that they have ADHD, but it's not. I just really don't think that's a real thing. So I have medical records showing that I have ADD and ADHD, and it's just nonsense. I never claimed it. I can focus on the things that matter to me, and that's most people. So I told you before I was an angry child. I had gang association. I got in trouble from about 15 to 21. I eventually came back with my mother. I think at about age 15. So when I say foster care, I probably was there for probably was in foster care about 5 years, and then another 2 more years I went to like a group home. And I kept getting in trouble. I was in high school. Gangs, guns, drugs. I was involved in that stuff. Not the drugs so much, but like the gang stuff because I was violent. I just wanted to I was violent. I was a violent person. So thank God I'm not that way anymore. But don't get it twisted. Don't get it twisted. So I'm a father now. I'm a father of four. I have 4 children. I have Jason. I have Jalea. I have Trinity, and I have Roman. So I got 4 children. Even that, right? I made a mistake. I have those children, each of those out of wedlock. I didn't have, so I can go here and I could use as an excuse. I didn't have an example of what it's like to be. I'm not. I had 4 children. I had 4 children. I had each of those children out of wedlock. It's something that I kind of regret. I wish I had like some kind of roadmap. Get married, have children, pick a woman that cares about you. I wish I had that stuff, but I didn't. So I'm not going to play victim. I'm going to make sure that I help my kids understand that they should be in the best position possible, right? Meaning, I'm not going to tell them to not to knock boots, but we're going to do everything that we can to be cautious, and so we don't have any children out of wedlock. Because life can be hard if you do, right? I had my first son in 2010. That was 14 years ago. 14 years ago. So I was only 21, something like that. I was kind of young. So it was tough. I'm a father now. I love those kids more than anything. Love them so much. Next, I'm black, right? So that's something else I can claim. I'm a black person. Nobody wants to work with me. We've been through slavery. I can cry all of the crying, all of the nobody cares, right? I'm black. I'm a black man. You can hear it in my voice. You can see it, right? I'm black as black can be. I'm dark as hell, right? I'm not even one of those light shaded, light tinted. I'm not even light. I'm dark. I have very dark chocolate skin, and people see that, and some people are going to discriminate simply because of that. And I could play victim. Oh, nobody wants to work with me because I'm black, because I'm dark. But I don't, right? Even growing up within our community, the darker children, they discriminate against the darker children. And I was one of those people. They used to call me black charcoal, dark monkey, all kind of stuff. And I could hold on to that stuff and say, man, I'm a victim. I always felt like a dark monkey and black this and black that. I just choose not to. I don't have to accept that, right? So I'm black and people still discriminate against me. I'm telling you, I've lost opportunities simply because I'm black, right? Which is okay. It happens. I can whine about it or I can move on. So that is a little bit about me. That is a little bit about my story. Those are all of the ways that I can be a victim, but I choose not to. So let me go into some of the more positive. If you're here, some of the more positive. Who am I now? Still a father of four. Proud of that. I absolutely love my children. Now I'm a marketing expert. I help people generate leads and grow their businesses. Marketing is one of the best skills you can learn in business. So if you learn marketing, you understand the importance of marketing, you'll never go broke. So now I'm a marketing expert and I dedicate so much time, effort into becoming, crafting and understanding the importance of marketing. I'm also a real estate investor and a real estate agent. A lot of people have aspirations to get involved in real estate. I actually went to go do it. I started off as a real estate investor and people kept asking me for help. I said, you know what? I can't help you, but maybe if I become a real estate agent, I can help some people. So I decided to go do that. Now I'm a real estate agent and a real estate investor. We've done deals across the nation as well as locally. So that's something that I'm happy and proud to proclaim. My favorite accomplishment thus far is I'm the #1 best-selling author. So I've become an author over my time and the things that I've learned, more particularly and specific to real estate marketing. I've become an author. I'm also a real estate instructor. So I teach other people how to be successful in real estate. Okay. So that's me now. And just so you see, I'm an introverted implementer, right? So I am an introvert, but you can see this. I wasn't planning on sharing this, but look, I'm an introvert. I'm 82% introverted. But life doesn't work that way, right? We got to talk to people. We got to have conversations, etc. And you can kind of see down on the bottom. This is my Myers-Briggs assessment we're looking at. And it shows that I'm a logistician. The logisticians are practical and fact-minded individuals whose reliability cannot be doubted. They're reserved yet willful with a rational outlook on life, composing their actions carefully. So I just wanted to show, like, according to Myers-Briggs, I'm ISTJ. If anybody wanted to know me or how I work, how I operate, I'm introverted. The S stands for observant. So I'm observant. The T is for thinking. So I'm a thinking personality more than a feeling personality. I used to be feeling, but since my business life, I've tapped more into my logical mind and brain. J is judging. I don't know exactly what that means and what the difference between judging and prospecting, but it's there. And then I have assertive. That is probably what throws most people off, is the fact that I'm assertive. And I scored a 100% on assertive because I am assertive. You will not walk over me. You will not get over. I will speak up for myself. I will speak up for other people. I will speak up for what's right. So my name is Jerome Lewis. I appreciate you watching. I wanted and listening. I wanted to show a little bit of my story and how I could easily claim being a victim, but I choose not to. We can all claim victim, but it's not necessary to claim that or to hold on to that. If you're going to claim or hold on to something, I call it fighting for limitations. Instead of fighting for limitations, fight for expansion. Fight for the reasons why you can be successful. Fight for the reasons why you will be successful versus why you won't and why you can't. So I appreciate you watching. I'll see you on the inside. Bye-bye.